Alright, so today we're using Adobe Illustrator CS2. You may be using a higher version, but it's pretty much the same, just a few different added features. But for today we're going to be learning the pen tool, so there shouldn't be anything that's too different. So to begin, we have an open canvas here. So remember, if you want to open a canvas, just File, New, and you can start a new blank canvas. If you don't like the shape of your canvas, you can use the Document Setup button at the top here, and that allows you to edit your canvas, also called an artboard, so that I can make it a little bit narrower, larger, much like this. And once you're done, just press the Enter key. Okay, and then we're just going to use the selection tool. There we go. So now that we're back to the regular canvas, we're going to use the pen tool that's over here on the left. So if you hover over any of the buttons, it'll give you the name in case you forget which is which just by the look. And also gives you the shortcut for the keyboard. So it says Pen Tool P. So if I want to use the pen tool, I can just press the P button. So to give you an example, if I want to use the rectangle tool, I press the M button. So I'm just going to keep my mouse here, and if I press M, you see the cursor changed, and now I'm making rectangles. But if I press P on the keyboard, you can see the cursor switched again, and it's actually highlighted over here, showing the pen tool selected again. So that's a very important shortcut for doing quick things on the computer, especially in different Adobe programs. Okay, so we're just going to remove those two boxes, so I'll use the selection tool here. I'm just going to drag over those two, press the delete button, those are gone. And using the pen tool, I'm just going to start by clicking once. So you see it has it labeled as anchor, so that's an anchor point. And if you place another anchor point, it actually will connect it with a path. So this line here is called a path, so it's connecting one anchor point to another. And if we keep clicking, it just keeps connecting, much like connect the dots. So it just keeps on connecting them together, and then when I connect the last and the first anchor point, it'll actually seal the image. And from there, you can use the selection tool again, and you can drag around what you've already created. You can twist it around if you like. You can also change the color, so I can go into the color palette here and I can use the fill. I'll use some red. Fills the color. There's also the stroke, this option here. So I can make it a green stroke. And actually it didn't change down. Let me try that again. So we'll use green. There we go. And then it gives you a green stroke, and of course you can decrease the stroke size here if you want. Now that's a very stiff mode of using the pen tool. So I'm just going to show you a more fluid form, say if you're making a circle or a wavy shape. So we'll choose the pen tool again. I'll click once. And when I click the second time, I'm going to hold in my mouse and I'm not going to let go of the button. And then if you drag your mouse or your touchpad, you'll see these handlebars that come off of the anchor point, and you start to see your line starting to curve. And this has a learning curve to it, because you'll have to get used to how the line moves as you drag it around. You see, if you get a very nice curve, so I'm just going to let go. And I'm going to try clicking again, still holding in the button. I can create another curve, and I'll do it one more time, connecting the top, or the first and the last anchor point, and I get another nice curve. Now from there, it gives you a very nice ability to make curved lines, not just straight ones. So if you want to manipulate those at all, there's actually a feature here under the pen tool. If you click and hold, you can add an anchor point, delete an anchor point, or convert anchor point tool. So actually, to see that box, we'll just click this button over here. There we go. and then you have all your options right there if that helps. So if you want to add an anchor point, you just go to anywhere on the path line and you can click and it'll add the points in. If you have too many, you can click the button here with the minus sign and delete any anchor points you don't want. And then using the last tool, Convert Anchor Point tool, you can click on already made anchor points and drag them around to manipulate them in more of a smooth shape, not just a tight, hard edge. Okay. So it's very handy to use the pen tool. It's a very great tool to use when you are doing editing on top of another image. Say you're tracing an image. So for example, if I have this square, this rectangle, and I have a circle here, and say I want to trace those. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the transparency so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing on top of this original image. There we go. Okay. Now to trace it, using the pen tool again, I can click here or I can press P, so I'll just press P. And I can click and hold. And I'm getting those round lines. One other trick, if you get to an edge, a corner, and you need it to be not smooth but a hard edge, you just hold in the Option key on a Mac, and you'll see your handlebar. You can make it at like a 90-degree angle, and you just let go and click in the corner, and then you get a very hard edge. And then without holding the mouse and twisting it, if you just click, you get a very hard edge still. And now I want curved again, so I'll click and move the mouse. Click again. There we go. And so it's not perfect, of course, but you can always go in and select the anchor tool again, and you can manipulate those, try to get it tweaked, looking a bit better than what you had before. You can also use the direct selection tool, the white arrow button that's up over here on the toolbar, to manipulate handlebars. I usually use that more often than the anchor tool conversion. And just to show you example, you can also do direct illustrations. So here's an example of one that I did here that is created from using vectors, but also with the pen tool, but also with shapes. So I'm just going to use the selection tool, and you can see there that's a whole shape on its own. This piece is a whole shape on its own, so they're just all layered on top of each other. And as I hover, you can see like the outline of each individual shape, which is great. And you can still manipulate those. So if I click here, see the anchor points. So I can still make manipulations. So the best part about using vector graphics is if you have the working file, say the Illustrator file, which would be .ai, you can constantly edit, re-edit creations that you consider finished or maybe not finished. You can use them, change them to make slight alterations, different versions. Perfect for doing logo work, t-shirt design, because it's very crisp. And you'll see if I zoom in here, the lines are very smooth. So a benefit of using vector graphics, it's all based on mathematical formulas, so the computer creates the lines for you as you're drawing, and it creates a great smooth image. And that's a basic breakdown of using the pen tool. Alright, so if you have any questions, just email or let me know in class.